Good morning, students. Welcome back. We'll continue with the third chapter we had started last week. Let's revise what we learned in the previous video. So, we were learning about clouds and humidity. We learned about humidity and the water vapor in the air, and then we learned about evaporation depending on the temperature. Then we saw about condensation, what is condensation, and then finally we saw humidity forms of condensation like frost, smog, etc. Let's continue with the next part of the chapter, that is clouds and the types of clouds. Now children, clouds are a form of condensation at higher elevations, that means at higher heights. Now in this video we are going to learn about the various types of clouds. Condensation occurs around minute particles in the atmosphere. Condensed water or snow particles in the clouds are very fine and almost weightless, and so clouds float in the air. As they are light in weight, so they float in the air. Land and water gets heated because of the heat of the sun. Air near the surface heats up, rises and becomes less dense. Hot air rises up. As it goes higher, the temperature of the air reduces and the moisture holding capacity of the air reduces. Now we have learned this in the previous video as well. As we go higher in the air, the temperature reduces, so the water holding capacity or the vapor holding capacity also reduces. Then this is the dew point level of that air. The level of condensation is determined by the water vapor in the air. Keep in mind that the freezing point is also dependent on the altitude and water vapor. Depending on the water vapor and the altitude, the freezing point is decided. Okay. Now, because of condensation, fine particles of ice and water float in the air at a greater height. They accumulate around dust particles in the air and become larger in size. Now, what exactly clouds are that we are learning? Because of condensation, these fine particles of ice and water, which is already floating in the air at a greater height, they accumulate around dust particles. Now you must have seen when the air blows around, the dust particles also rises up. So this dust particles comes in contact with the ice and water which floats in the air, and they become larger in size. This accumulation together is called a cloud. So when all these things come together and they become larger in size, this is nothing but which we see as clouds. Because of vertical flow of the wind, they float in the atmosphere. When you look at the sky, sometimes you feel that the clouds are moving. So that is because of the vertical flow of the wind. Like a kite which floats in the air as it moves higher and higher, the clouds too float in the atmosphere because of the vertical flow. Clouds are found at different altitudes above mean sea level. Clouds which form a greater altitude are formed from very fine snow particles. Now see children, depending on the altitude, the clouds and its types change. Okay, now that is what we are going to learn in the further part of the lesson. The process of evaporation and condensation occurs consecutively in the clouds. Specific types of clouds cause rainfall on earth. The proportion of vapor is more near the earth's surface. As we go higher away from the sea level, the amount of vapor decreases. Now again the same thing, as we move higher and higher, we find that the amount of vapor also decreases Hence, the clouds at the lower altitude are larger in size, while the clouds of higher altitude are smaller. Now, as we go higher and higher, the size of the clouds becomes smaller and smaller. Now, clouds are formed at different altitudes in the atmosphere. After observation, we divide these clouds into three main types on the basis of their altitude. The height from the base of the cloud is taken into consideration. If the clouds are at an altitude of 7,000 to 14,000 meter, then they are considered as very high clouds. See in the picture, if they are at the altitude of around 2000 to 7000 meter, then they are considered to be medium clouds. If they are at an altitude of less than 2000 meter, then they are low clouds. Yes, now you can see in the picture high, medium or the middle one and the low clouds. There are three types of clouds which we are going to learn now. Now first one, we'll start with the high clouds. These clouds are mainly made up of ice particles. Now can you tell me why, children? Because they are at the higher elevation or at the highest altitude where the temperature is very less. So there they can be classified into, see in the picture, cirrus, cirrocumulus and cirrostratus. Now there are three clouds in the high cloud section, that is cirrus, cirrocumulus and cirrostratus. Cirrus clouds are mainly wispy. Cirrocumulus clouds look like a group of small waves. Cirrostratus are like a bed sheet with wrinkles. You can see in the picture, can you see? Cirrus clouds are wispy, that means they are little far away from each other and it looks like a little shaded part. Okay. Then cirrocumulus clouds look like a group of waves. Can you see? And then the cirrostratus are like a bed sheet with wrinkles. They generally have a halo around them. Can you see in the picture, there is a round circle like thing around the cirrostratus, that is known as the halo. Okay. Then coming to the next is the medium clouds, or here in the picture it is written as middle. It's medium clouds in the textbook. Medium clouds, these include altocumulus and altostratus. Altocumulus are in the form of layers and have a wave-like structure. They are mostly white in color and have a grey shade. Can you see? Then altostratus are not very thick. The sun can be seen through them as if see through a milky glass. Okay. Now there are altocumulus and altostratus. Two types of clouds are there in the medium cloud section, where the altocumulus are wave-like structure and altostratus are not very thick. You can see through them like you see from a milky glass. The third one, that is the low clouds. These consist of 5 types of clouds. Now see, the maximum number of clouds are in the low cloud section. Okay. Now these consist how many? 5 types of clouds. Stratocumulus have layers. Their color is white to earthy. Round clusters of clouds can be here. Stratus clouds are also here and they have layers. They are ash colored and their base is uniform. Now see, nimbostratus has thick layer. Yes, we can see in the picture. They are grey ash in color and cause continuous rainfall and even snowfall at times. Okay children, now these are the three types of clouds. One is the high clouds, which includes cirrostratus, cirrus and cirrocumulus. Then the medium clouds, which includes altostratus and altocumulus. When you come to the lower cloud section, you can see there are five types of clouds in this: the nimbostratus, stratus, stratocumulus, cumulus and cumulonimbus. Okay, now these are the five clouds which are included in the low clouds. Now children, we are going to learn something more about two types of clouds. One is cumulus clouds and the other is cumulonimbus clouds. These are the clouds which are found in the lower elevations or lower altitudes. So we are going to learn more about it. First is cumulus clouds. These clouds are formed extensively from 500 meter to 6000 meter altitude. The vertical flow of the air adds to the formation of these clouds. These are huge and dome shaped. They are grey in color. Cumulus clouds are an indicator of pleasant weather. The vertical expanse of these clouds increases so much that they turn into cumulonimbus cloud and bring rain. Now see children, these are huge and dome shaped like clouds which are an indication of pleasant weather. But as they keep floating in the air and become big in the size, and they can become the cumulonimbus clouds and bring rain. Okay, now they are also, one thing you have to keep in mind, they are in gray in color and they are indicator of pleasant weather. Okay, but it can change into cumulonimbus clouds and bring rain. Next, coming to the next clouds, that is the cumulonimbus clouds. These are characteristics clouds which are indicators of thunderstorm. These look like huge mountains. These are dense and dark in color. There is thunder accompanied by lightning. They bring rain with storm and may sometimes bring hailstones. But such a type of rain does not last long. So what happens is, as these cumulus clouds are there and then later on, if it takes turn and becomes cumulonimbus or big in size, and then what happens is it starts raining or it brings rain. Okay, now sometimes these are accompanied with lightning. Okay, you must have seen sometimes suddenly the weather changes and there is a heavy rain which comes and it lasts only for some time and then it stops. So these are cumulonimbus types of clouds. Okay, they are very dense and they are dark in color. Suddenly you can see that it becomes dark and then it starts raining. So these types of clouds are cumulonimbus clouds. The largest of these clouds bring rainfall accompanied with lightning. The top portion of these clouds has an anvil like shape. Yes, now children, anvil means you must have seen in the movies and all where these iron workers use it for making the giving shape to the iron. Okay, that is known as anvil. Okay, so the upper portion of the clouds looks like that shape. The clouds have a positive charge at the upper end and a negative charge at the lower end. The land below them always has negative charge. Due to the difference in the charges, electric charges are formed and lightning occurs, lightning up to the sky for a moment. So you must have seen whenever the lightning occurs, the light flashes. Okay, so this is because of the charges, the negative charge which is at the lower end. The air around the lightning rises up because of the heat, and this leads to a larger thundering sound. Yes, you must have heard a loud sound sometimes. So that is because of these happenings which are happening with the clouds. Okay, As compared to other clouds, the raindrops of these clouds are larger because they move up and down a lot of times and accumulate more and more of water. So the drop size is bigger. Drops becomes larger and larger and are unable to float in the clouds because of their weight. They fall in the form of rain. So as the drops becomes bigger and bigger, hence it is no more possible for them to be in the cloud, and so it starts raining because of the weight. They fall in the form of rain. Sometimes the air in the cloud is very cold. As a result, these drops freezes and fall in the form of hail. Yes, we call them hailstones. So sometimes if the temperature or the clouds is, the air is very cold, then the droplets become solid and they form as hailstones, and then we get shower of hailstones sometimes. Okay children, I hope you all have understood till here. So cumulus clouds and cumulonimbus clouds. Now there is one more section, that is cloudburst. Cloudburst is a type of precipitation. Raindrops coming towards the earth are stopped in the clouds itself because of strong vertical winds. These drops changes into hail. This makes the clouds heavier. The vertical winds are unable to bear this weight. This leads to heavy rainfall with large sized hail. This is called cloudburst. It leads to a rainfall of more than 100 mm in a small area of particular region. This type of precipitation mainly occurs in mountainous ranges. The states through which the Himalayan ranges pass experience such type of rainfall. Now children, this is not a part of the portion. Cloudburst is just for your general knowledge. You must have heard that it happens in the Himalayan regions many times. Okay, so here we come to the end of the lesson. Before I end up with the video, I want to share two small videos, one of the cumulonimbus clouds and one just for your general knowledge. It is nothing to do with the portion. Just see it and enjoy the video. Okay, see children, these are the types of cumulonimbus clouds, how it changes and then how lightning occurs. Just see. Here you can see the clouds have become very dark, and now see the lightning also is striking.
On a cold December evening in 1802, a nervous young man named Luke Howard stood before the assembled members of a London science club, about to give a lecture that would change his life and go on to change humanity's understanding of the skies. Luke Howard was a pharmacist by profession, but he was a meteorologist by inclination, having been obsessed by clouds and weather since childhood. As a schoolboy, he spent hours staring out of the classroom window, gazing at the passing clouds. Like everyone else at the time, he had no idea how clouds formed or how they stayed aloft, but he enjoyed observing their endless transformations. By his own admission, Luke paid little attention to his lessons, but fortunately for the future of meteorology, he managed to pick up a good knowledge of Latin. Compared to the other natural sciences, meteorology, the study of weather, was a late developer, mainly because weather is elusive. You can't snap off a piece of rainbow or a section of cloud for convenient study. You can, of course, collect rainwater in calibrated containers, but all you really end up with are buckets of water. Understanding clouds required a different approach. which is where Luke Howard's idea came in. His simple insight, based on years of observation, was that clouds have many individual shapes, but they have few basic forms. In fact, all clouds belong to one of three principal types, to which Howard gave the names: cirrus, Latin for tendril or hair; cumulus, heap or pile; and stratus, layer or sheet. But that wasn't the clever part. Clouds are constantly changing, merging, rising, falling, and spreading throughout the atmosphere, rarely maintaining the same shapes for more than a few minutes. Any successful naming system had to accommodate this essential instability, as Howard realized. So, in addition to the three main cloud types, he introduced a series of intermediate and compound types as a way of including the regular transitions that occur among clouds. A high, wispy cirrus cloud that descended and spread into a sheet was named cirrostratus, while groups of fluffy cumulus clouds that joined up and spread were named stratocumulus. Howard identified 7 cloud types, but these have since been expanded to 10, Cloud 9 being the towering cumulonimbus thundercloud, which is probably why being on Cloud 9 means to be on top of the world. Howard's classification had an immediate international impact. The German poet and scientist J.W. von Goethe wrote a series of poems in praise of Howard's clouds, which ended with the memorable lines, "As clouds ascend, are folded, scatter, fall, let the world think of thee, who taught it all." While Percy Shelley also wrote a poem, The Cloud, in which each of Howard's 7 cloud types was characterized in turn. But perhaps the most impressive response to the naming of clouds was by the painter John Constable, who spent 2 summers on Hampstead Heath painting clouds in the open air. Once they had been named and classified, clouds became easier to understand as the visible signs of otherwise invisible atmospheric processes. Clouds write a kind of journal on the sky that allows us to understand the circulating patterns of weather and climate. Perhaps the most important breakthrough in understanding clouds was realizing that they are subject to the same physical laws as everything else on Earth. Clouds, for example, do not float, but fall slowly under the influence of gravity. Some of them stay aloft due to upward convection from the sun-heated ground, but most are in a state of slow, balletic descent. Clouds are the patron goddesses of idle fellows, as the Greek dramatist Aristophanes wrote in 420 BC, and nephology, the study of clouds, remains a daydreamer's science, aptly founded by a thoughtful young man whose favorite activity was staring out of the window at the sky.
So children, here we come to the end of the video. I hope you liked the video. This is just for your reference purpose and just for your general knowledge. It has nothing to do with the portion. Okay, now even if you have any doubts, still if you have, after seeing the video thoroughly, you can join in the doubt clearing session and clear your doubts. And one more thing, I'll be sending one more video tomorrow after maybe after 12 o'clock, so that you can write down the notes of the second lesson. Okay, thank you and have a nice day.